Alright, so in this video I'm pretty much just going to review Mot-C, what it is, what I've personally noticed from it, and maybe if it's something worth looking into for yourself. So pretty much what Mot-C is, it's a peptide your body produces naturally. I get it from Amino Gen, obviously, on the labels. I pretty much get stuff like this from Amino Gen, and then GLPs, which is something else I'll review, but that's not what this video is about. What Mot-C is pretty much comprised of 16 amino acids, and it pretty much regulates fat and how your body responds to physical stress, aka working out, physical labor, anything like that. In that sense, I would deem it something that's mostly based on recovery, because that's the whole reason in adding it. It's pretty much a supplement. You're pretty much supplementing what your body already produces, but you're adding it extra, and you're adding it in there because you want to recover even more than you're already recovered. In my sense, I do demolition 10 hours a day. I drive 2 hours one way, and then on top of all that, I usually go to the gym at least 5 days a week. So I'm gonna obviously want some kind of recovery supplement that helps me go above and beyond, or just gives me that little bit of an edge. Now, is this worth taking standalone? In my opinion, no. There's a mitochondrial support stack that's comprised of Mot-C, methylene blue, and SLU-PP332. When I took all three of those together, yes, I noticed a difference, especially after a day of good sleep. Now, when the fatigue gets really built up towards the end of the week, let's say you take this and then you work Monday through Friday, your most recovered day of the week is going to be Sunday. So that's going to be the day you notice it the most. That was the day I noticed it quite a lot. And then I would also notice when I would take a dose like Monday night combined with all three. So I would take the methylene blue and the SLU-PP332 every day. But then the Mot-C I would take every 3 days, and I would generally take like 2 to 4 milligrams. That would be significantly noticeable on a day that I'm more recovered rather than fatigued. So let's say I did a light workout the day before, and then I had taken this. I'm obviously going to feel more rested than not. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely would notice a difference. You felt, not only did you feel, it had this, you just felt good in general. Overall is the main, is mainly how it would make you feel. Like you feel recovered. It doesn't necessarily make your muscles feel like they're healed, but you, in general, cognitively feel better. You're sharper, but a lot of that is due to just you're recovering faster. So the less fatigued you are, the sharper you're gonna think, feel, respond, and do things. Is it worth it as a standalone? Because I'm reviewing it in standalone. Is it worth it standalone? No, it's not. Not unless you were to take probably a super huge dose of it. I mean, if you were to take I wouldn't recommend it, but let's say you were able to afford to take 5 milligrams every other day. That would be a super huge dose. And then you may even have an allergic reaction to it or whatever. Maybe in that sense, because your body would have, it's almost $58 after, it's $49.99, and then, after the taxes and stuff, it's $58, almost $60 a vial. Let's say you were to take 3 to 5 milligrams every 2 to 3 days. You'd be spending quite a bit of money, because this is only 10 milligrams. This is only a 10 milligram, bottle. It comes as a powder, and then you reconstitute it with the bariostatic water. You pretty much reconstitute it, and then that would be up to you, what dosage you reconstitute it at. But yeah, if you were able to take that dose every other day, then you probably would notice something different. I've never ran it at that dose. The most I ever took was Standalone was like I've taken like 3 milligrams on Monday and then another 3 on Thursday. Did I notice anything crazy from taking this alone after I had run out of methylene blue and SLU PP332? Those are 2 other compounds I'll review in the future, but did I notice it as much standalone? No. But when I had all 3 of those running, yes, I did. Now, whenever I ran Mot-C with the other 2 compounds, I definitely noticed even in my workouts I was much sharper. I definitely recovered faster. That's the main thing you recover, like how it feels. Does it have like steroidal-like effects? No, it doesn't. This is kind of just this is kind of like a supplement that you add to give you this slight extra edge combined with other compounds that synergistically work together. And then at some point or another, I'm going to run it with, at some point I'm going to run it at, 3 to 5 milligrams every couple of days and see how my body responds to that just as a standalone. But as a standalone for the couple of days that I did it for, I didn't really think it was necessarily worth it when it comes to milligram, how much you would need to take and how much it cost, because you would go through, let's say you did a $60 vial every 5 or 6 days, you would be spending, you'd be spending like $120 a week. Well, that's going to add up over 4 weeks. If you were somebody that was rich and that could afford to take it at that dose over and over again, you'd probably have a pretty good output. Like energy-wise, you would significantly feel probably more recovered than your average person for sure. You would just feel good overall in general. Now, this doesn't give you energy like caffeine. Like caffeine doesn't even necessarily give you energy, but most people take caffeine because they think it gives them energy. Well, it technically does something else. It doesn't necessarily give you energy. It just blocks something that makes you feel tired. And I'm not going to explain all of that to you, but it doesn't give you energy like that where right after you take it, you feel super jittery and you're ready to go out and do a bunch of stuff. No, this is like something that you would take it and then randomly just so happen to notice that you feel better or you're in a better mood. It's kind of like that. It almost, because your body's recovered and your cells and stuff are operating at a better level than they would be if you weren't taking it, it's something that you would so happen to just notice. Because that's how that was what I noticed. I just noticed that I would be at work and all of a sudden I would realize I'm in a much better mood than normal. I would be driving to work at 4 a.m. and realize, wow, I'm really not as tired as I usually feel. Or it would be midday after lunch after eating and I wouldn't crash as hard. Because everything's upregulated, especially whenever you take all 3, it's upregulated. So that's kind of what you notice from Mot-C, would notice. As a standalone, I'll have to run it at that dose and then review it in that context. But when I did whenever I did the mitochondrial support stack of the SLU PP332 and the methylene blue and Mot-C, that bar none I noticed. But unfortunately, to run all 3 of those, let's say you ran all 3 of those for a month, that would run you depending on how high you wanted to crank the doses, it would run you hundreds of dollars. It's not going to be cheap. But this here alone by itself, this is $49.99 from Amino XGen specifically, very trusted company. Everything I order from there is legit. It comes on time. It ships very fast. And you could go in there and check out all the stuff. This is just one of the compounds. There's many other ones. But that's pretty much, now there's even more to Mot-C, that I could go over, it's pretty much performance enhancer, but like not like your performance is enhanced because your cells are upregulated and you're recovering better overall. Now, when it comes to recovery, even if you're recovering at 2 extra %, that's a lot. Now, when I ran the support stack, my personal and general recovery, there would be days I just felt too good. There were days I just, in general, felt too good. It's like somebody who's like been super vitamin D deficient for a long time, and then they finally start to take vitamin D, like, they're like, wow, I've needed that. It's kind of like that. It's still hard to explain, but yeah, that's a lot of it. And then any other key things? Yes. When you inject this, it definitely stings. Like, it has an after sting for sure. It's one of the few things that have this like post-site injection sting. And you notice it almost every time. There's very few times that you don't feel or notice it. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. And you know, anything at like you'd have to go over a dosing protocol and look up a dosing protocol if you were to take, you know, 1 milligram a week. No, you're not going to have an allergic reaction to it. You're just not. There's nothing that you can really take 1 milligram of once a week and it's going to have an insane allergic reaction. But know that, you know, at a 3 milligram dose, yes, it for sure stings. But that's something to kind of keep in mind. And yeah, and then I'll have to review and show you the support stack as well, because when you take all 3 of those compounds, I already went through the methylene blue and the SLU PP332. When you combine all 3 of these, yes, it's very noticeable on a day you're super recovered, and even maybe not, but yeah, there are days where after a good night's sleep, I would notice it heavily, and that's pretty much my review on Mot-C.